time for another video. This one's going to be talking about a very controversial subject. Basically, with regards to the whole manosphere and everything that's been associated with that. So to begin with, as probably other people have seen in my other videos, I am somewhat familiar with the whole PUA scene, quote unquote, pickup artist or seduction community, or whatever you want to call it. And I've read some of the materials, and frankly, it's actually helped me out on several occasions in life. So before I start this video, I just wanted to acknowledge that that is the case, and also want to make it differentiate between what is happening now and what's happened in the past with regards to that stuff. So there's a lot of talk about these various movements. MRA, it's kind of a label that people give as almost a slang label for people that are opposed to feminism or modern third wave feminism, which I should probably clarify with my previous videos. That's really what I'm talking about when I talk about feminism, is this social constructionist, weird kind of everything is caused by society rather than genetics. I mean, you can go the other way, and that's a dumb way too. They're both flawed, whether or not you're a eugenicist Nazi, or you're on the other side, you think everything's caused by this conspiracy in society that these people decided to do something at one time, so it affected everything. So just a clarification when I talk about that. Now, there's been a few movements as far as in the men's community or men's scene in the last couple of years that I've watched. And by the way, as far as going back to the PUA thing, it's something I've dabbled in, and kind of I have not dabbled in it in depth, but I've read a lot of materials over the years, and I'm kind of looking to take what I've learned and really use it. I mean, the good stuff and throw away the rest, basically. But more on that maybe in another video, because I just wanted to put that out there. But so anyways, this manosphere, it's developed. Basically, it's an internet phenomenon, and frankly, I'm not interested in a lot of it. I think I first saw, and I know the men's rights thing, like the Will Ferrell people and everything, that's way older, way before this whole movement. So I'm going to try to differentiate between that as well. So I first noticed this whole thing with this true force loneliness movement a couple years back, and that was kind of interesting. And basically you had these kind of really nerdy, what you would call in the seduction community, beyond average frustrated chump, kind of guys that just had no clue about anything with regards to getting women, but they would blame women and society for that. So rightly so, a lot of those guys were laughed at and made fun of, even though it's kind of, looking at the mental issues that they have, that would be probably a better thing rather than just making fun of them. I was involved with a podcast. We were trying to interview one of those guys, and it was very hard to get the contact with them and everything. I'm not going to say which one of those guys, the infamous three of them that we were going to interview, but nevertheless, so as time went on, I was in a few relationships, and just other things happened in life that distracted me from getting better with my life and with women and everything. But I noticed that things have kind of turned into a really weird direction, and I can't really, I don't know when this started, but it started kind of, I think, actually I do know, I'm sorry. I know this started like around 2009, 2010. So some of the guys who were experimenting with the pickup artist thing had got dissatisfied with it and dismayed by it, because I think my theory or hypothesis, if you will, is that a lot of them really did not apply the ideas in the right way, or they didn't, if when they applied them at all, which is probably a rarity. Because personally, I've seen guys that have applied some of the theories of these ideas of self-improvement and gone so far with it that I cannot think that a guy who uses some of these ideas, or self-improvement or self-help in general, how they would not be able to improve themselves and just fall back on all this shit. I mean, me myself included, I've used some of the stuff, these ideas, and I'm not talking about using scripted things or anything like that. Just more, maybe inner game, or more just persistence and everything. So I noticed these guys, would kind of they would kind of gather on these online forums and stuff, and a lot of them, a lot of the guys were, they had some good points about the whole thing, and but there's, they still liked a few of these gurus, which was interesting, these dating seduction gurus, and kind of I noticed that a lot of the direction of the whole seduction community became, it was more oriented towards natural game, but that lasted a little while, and now I notice there's these really weird, fucked up ideas that are being perpetuated out there. I don't know if it's sometimes a very subtle thing, but sometimes it's very overt, and that's where we get to the whole Roosh V thing, and that's what this video is about. I'm not really too familiar with the guy, but what I've read, there's just some very flawed ideas about really what I believe the positive aspects of the whole dating community, or whatever you want to call it, were and are. So, and this kind of ties together with some of these gurus, these anti-PUAs were getting into too. They were just, these guys were just like these anti-PUA PUAs a lot of the time. And then also you have simultaneously some of the more long-term PUA companies are starting to just become kind of vulgar in a certain way. And I don't believe that was the intention of a lot of this stuff to begin with. And I'll frankly say that some of it's become misogynist. Not that, from a certain point of view, the whole thing isn't misogynist, but blatantly and overtly misogynist. So what bothers me about the whole manosphere thing and the MGTOW and, all these things that actually sort of tie together, because there was this one forum that some of these guys would kind of gather on that I noticed after. It was an anti-PUA forum, but they would talk about PUA, they would talk about MGTOW, they wouldn't talk about MRA kind of stuff. That's just kind of a slang umbrella term for some people on the far left feminist side use for some of these guys, which is not true a lot of the time. Maybe some of the time it does cross over, the whole manosphere thing. So some of these guys, that came out and, real, like, real social dynamics, the whole, like, I forgot what it's called, but it's like this whole thing where you're supposed to, like, just keep going, basically keep escalating and have the girl say no, but just, go. It's kind of like a mystery method where you kind of step back, go forward, but it's into this weird cavemaning or whatever they call it. I can't remember. It's in the game. Plowing. That's what he said. That's what Neil Strauss called it. And that became more of a thing. And I noticed some of the materials and some of these teachings became more aggressive and extreme. And you have certain people in that industry that are suggesting this stuff, and I'm just going to say, I'm not going to give out names, but there's a certain pickup artist guy that has just this ironic, weird extreme sense of humor, and has this rape van and all this shit. It's like, I mean, okay, So I don't get why you have to go to that extreme to sell to men. I know he's not trying to. That's it's just his personality. He's kind of fucked up, has this weird sense of humor. But I think it's just indicative of how where it's gone in the past several years. And rather than pointing out that company, that particular company, or that particular method, which a certain other guy from the same company got in trouble for I think it was last year with the whole, whether it be staged or not, or you know a, a parody of the whole thing where you're going to another country and getting these girls to like pulling these girls' heads by their crotch and like kind of somewhat sexually harassing women on the street, and whether or not that was all a joke, because a lot of the guys' other teachers are actually pretty good. I don't know, but he got in trouble and there was backlash. So there's this whole shock thing within the industry. This like shocking, plowing kind of near rape kind of idea that some of these guys have, and it bothers me. And one of the guys that kind of is very controversial right now is Roosh. Now, I haven't read a lot of his stuff. I've read some of it. It comes across as just bitter and angry and really fucked up a lot of the time. And it doesn't really come from a place, to me, of self-improvement, of wanting to really get better in life some of the time. Some of it does, but one thing that really bothers me is, unlike some other guys, like that really want you to improve and really want you to be self-aware and really go at this whole thing like you're going to improve your life and you're going to attract women that way. You know, that's really what I got into it about. Rather than that, some of the stuff he talks about, I'm just going to actually bring some of his books up here. And this is what bothers me. So it's not all bad, all this stuff, but a lot of it is. So, and I don't mind that he attacks some of feminism, but okay, so he has these, and there's this thing amongst the MGTOW people too, MGTOW. So, Bane Poland, Bane Estonia, how to sleep with Lithuanian women in Lithuania, and this is kind of like a legalizing rape on private property. I know it's just stupid shit like that. Okay, so against female promiscuity. I mean, come on. The red pill thing. I like the guy, the red pill on YouTube. I actually like some of his videos. I like him better. He kind of articulates his arguments and his ideas better than people like Roosh in a certain way. So sex themed travel guides. Okay, so I'm not saying that all the guys within the PUA scene nowadays have these ideas, but there's this idea that American women have become so brainwashed by feminism that they're not going to put out or whatever, or you have to be whatever, so go to another country. And that's sort of what I read into is some of his crap, like these Spain, Lithuania, like, oh, it's easier in Eastern Europe to get laid or whatever. And see, that is what I think is bullshit, because this is why. The whole PUA thing is about how to become the man that no matter where you are. And I think Ross Jeffries actually talked about this in one of his blog posts once I read. No matter where you are, you can. Of course, language barriers and stuff, but no matter where you are, you improve yourself to a point, socially and otherwise, becoming an attractive man that you can attract women anywhere, and it doesn't matter if you're in the most fucking rabidly feminist university town, like here. No, that you can. That doesn't matter, because you're improving yourself as a human being and becoming more of an attractive person from the inside. And when they, these PUA, the modern PUA guys, these third or fourth wave gurus, so to speak, talk about all this shit. And I think, on the subject of some of their companies that have kind of gone more that direction, I think they're kind of responding to some of this, that's the zeitgeist of how it's gone, and they're adapting to that instead of teaching what they used to. Of course, certain ones were always known to teach certain ways of doing things more so than others. But anyways, back to this whole thing. So the whole logic of some of these guys that I've read, and not just Roosh V, but some of these other guys, it's like, well, I'm gonna go to Thailand and get a wife, or just this whole fucking, like, you have to, oh, American women just suck. It's just like, it's totally fucking, it's just retarded. I mean, what rabbit hole are you going down to believe that women in one country are easier to get because of their, maybe misogynist culture or whatever, or more subservient or passive or whatever? What kind of fucking, what kind of shit are you on? I mean, that's not what it's supposed to be about. To me, it's about, oh wow, I'm such an alpha male, quote unquote, that the most rabid, feminist fucking woman who says, I'll never fall for that, falls for it. See, that is what truly changing yourself as becoming an attractive person really is about to me. It's not about fucking, oh, bang Poland, oh, bang Eastern Europe because they're easier, bang, it's like, fuck you. That's so stupid. I mean, you guys obviously making some money. The sex tourist bullshit. I mean, to me, the ultimate PUA or seduction person or whatever is a guy that can just walk outside his door and, meet someone that he could, whatever, have whatever kind of relationship with just easily. It's not about fucking going to some stupid, going to a foreign country and fucking girls because they're easier or whatever. It's stupid. And then this whole like borderline or maybe rape kind of shit infecting the whole thing too. So there's been some misunderstandings about what last minute resistance is, and I'm just gonna kind of clear that up. To me, last minute resistance is when a woman's not sure that she wants to have sex, but kind of does, but isn't sure about other things, because that's our conditioning as as men and women have certain things. So even my family members have told me, like, oh yeah, just kind of take a step back and then they'll be more aggressive and chase you, and then in bed, and that's kind of what, to me, that freeze out thing is. It as far as mystery goes and what he talked about, it's not really, I mean, his was a little more extreme and it gets a little weird, but really, it's like kind of taking a step back and not being as aggressive and then slowly inching forward. That's what seduction is about. And it's kind of turning someone on, and then it's not like a light switch like men. It's like a dial. You're pushing the dial too forward, or whatever. But whatever, I don't know. But anyways, that's what I think about that. So I'm just clearing that up. But at the same time, there's a dividing line in between what I believe as far as that whole thing and what these new guys believe. And I find it to be just fucking heinous and ugly and disgusting, a lot of these guys. And I'm not talking about Julian Blanc because I don't know the situation enough about Julian Blanc that as far as the whole thing, because I think it was meant maybe as a parody, and some of his other stuff kind of contradicts a lot of what he said in that video. So it may have been some kind of weird joke video, but still, it's stupid to put out there. It's like, we got to do this shocking thing now. Oh, people aren't buying our ebook anymore. Our ClickBank account is whatever. Fucking, our SEO is shit. So we have to have these clickbait kind of things. It's like the industry kind of died out a little bit, and now it's like this whole fucking thing's being revived with this whole misogynist, extremist kind of shit. And just to sum it up, I mean, I just think it's really stupid and dangerous and disingenuous and counterproductive You know, it's not one of the the original guys like David D'Angelo. Or has this man transformation seminar. People like that. They don't talk about fucking make the. I mean, they don't talk about like legalizing rape or fucking having to go to foreign countries or you know or just some of the shit. I know, and I know a lot of it's shock just to shock people, and it's not really some of the guys' true beliefs, but it just paints the wrong picture to me of the whole thing. So, and there's some of the guys that over the years that I've liked some of their advice, and some of the other stuff they say is kind of weird. Hey, there's the whole thing, make the host say no, kind of thing, which is another guru's tagline, but really it's kind of this similar thing to what mystery, what I was saying about mystery and the last minute resistance thing. It's like, I think when you're teaching someone a different way of thinking, and if they're really in the opposite end, sometimes teaching that in the most extreme way, I disagree with the make the whole say no thing because it's kind of fucked up. But the whole thing is kind of meant to like trigger something in a guy to be like, well, I'm going to escalate because every girl I've had a date with just wants to be friends. So I'm going to actually maybe try to kiss her, maybe try to do this. So I think that's the purpose of that. I don't agree with the terminology, but I think that was originally the purpose of that. But now these guys that have taken off with some of those like some the actual literal ideas like that, it's just stupid. So that's all for this video. I just think it's really sad in this situation where you have that kind of thing. So hopefully understand where I'm coming from, and please subscribe and do some other things too.